What is going on, all my hustlers and grinders and go-getters? The ones that wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, I'm going to get this money. We got 100 days until the Junk Expo, where it's going down in Sonoma County. And today we got a great guest. Jojo, 100 damn days left.
I remember when we first started advertising, it seemed so far away, but it is getting closer and closer. And like it was last year, the closer the Junk Expo got, the more exciting it got. And, we couldn't wait for it to start. And then everybody was, writing on Facebook saying that it felt like adults Christmas, like, junk removal Christmas day. You felt like a kid waiting for the big day, to open up your presents. And now it's not just one day, but it's 2 days.
Jojo, it is the junk removal event of the year. It's the Super Bowl of the junk removal industry. Seriously.
That's the word I was looking for.
And we have one of our guest speakers here today.
We are going to learn so much about Facebook because at the Junk Expo, he is a speaker and he's going to just game you up and tell you all about Facebook and how, you can be successful running ads and, getting customers to know who you are in your area. And that will obviously make your phone ring. And that's what the Junk Expo is for.
So if you're out there and your phone's not ringing and you're slow and you're trying to figure stuff out on your own, come to the Junk Expo. We're going to have a gang of information there where you can learn stuff, take it home, and be a better business person. So if your phone's not ringing, you definitely want to be there. And if you want to grow your business, you want to be there. You're going to learn about branding, Google My Business, Google Ads, Facebook, how to get off the trucks. There's so much stuff you're going to learn at the expo. And plus, rub shoulders with people that make anywhere from $2 million to $5 million and people that are just starting in the business.
It's going to be awesome. And another great thing is the very first night, somebody's walking away with $1,000 cash.
And then the second night, my buddy Andrew from Autopilot is giving away a $10,000 dump trailer at the Junk Expo.
I'm so excited. Now, those are going to take place at the very end because when you win $1,000 cash, not a gift card, no strings attached. You're just walking away with $1,000. You're excited. I don't think we could come back to a speech after that. And the dump trailer is going to happen the very, last thing on the last night because that's going to be so exciting and fun to watch somebody win that.
Now, Jojo, let the viewers know, how do you win the $1,000 cash? How can you do that?
How do you win $1,000 cash? It's actually extremely easy. When you are on Facebook or Instagram and you see a post that is about the Junk Expo, share it, tag Sonoma Strong Hauling or hashtag Junk Expo. But we see it, we will see it. And every time we see that you've, shared that post, we put your name in a container and there's names in that container and your name could be in there multiple times. So every single time we see that you've added a post, shared a post of ours, your name gets put in there. Some people have 8 names, like their name 8 times in there.
So I know one thing for sure. I post a lot about the Junk Expo, so my name should be in there at least 1,000 times.
You can't win the $1,000.
All right. So we got my boy Blake Short in here in the house. He's a Facebook expert. He helps a lot of junk removal companies around the world with Facebook and all kinds of other services.
Yes.
So should we introduce him or what?
Yes. Do I get to?
Yeah.
Hello, Blake Short.
What's going on, guys? I'm super excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you because, we actually really utilize Facebook in our business and we tell everybody that that's what they should do, get that organic reach going and stuff. So we are extremely excited because we never stop learning and we are looking forward to learning new strategies from you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk and give value to everybody at the expo because I think there's a lot of things, 1, misconceptions, and 2, just things you don't know about Facebook, whether it be organic, like you said, or ads. So I'm excited to really dive into that and teach people like you have these things at your disposal and most of it either no cost if it's organic or very low cost if you're running ads.
Yes.
Now, for the people that don't know who you are and what you do, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I run a company called Top Dog Digital. We've been in business for 6 years. We have about 85% of our clientele in the junk removal space, and that's been sort of that way from the beginning. That's a long backstory on how I got into junk, but just it was kind of an interesting direction where I had a friend, and he was in the junk removal industry, and in true Facebook fashion, I looked up some stuff for him. I had a marketing background and started seeing a bunch of junk removal ads, and that kind of pulled me in to start doing free audits and giving people kind of like, hey, I saw this, tweak this, do that, and got me into the game, right? Really helping people out and then becoming and building a business and marketing. So what we focus on primarily is Facebook ads and SEO. We are definitely mostly known for our Facebook ads because I think we're one of the players in the space that has been able to do a lot of different things with Facebook, really focus heavily on video editing and content, and been able to then add that content to put people in a position where not only are you having it for your ads, but you can put it on your Instagram, your Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that don't utilize Facebook, and Facebook is a money maker. Our Google My Business is number one, then Facebook is number two. Or they're like almost tied up, really.
Yeah.
We get so much business off Facebook.
And we've actually talked to people who were spending all kinds of money on Google Ads. And when Matt asked them, do you utilize Facebook at all? And they're like, no, I don't use that. And we just looked at each other and we thought, wow, they're missing out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, when I first got into the junk space, there was this, in the groups, and I pay attention to the groups pretty heavily, obviously your guys' groups and other groups, where everybody was talking about, Google Ads works really well for me. And there was a lot of instances where that was the case, right? Especially companies who had the money to afford Google Ads and had that budget. But there are a lot of companies who don't have that same budget. And then the other thing that's changed is over the years, Google Ads has continued to get more and more expensive, whereas Facebook ads have actually gotten cheaper over the last few years, especially if you're utilizing video. So what you're starting to see is this landscape change of you have this platform that was working really well and its costs keep going higher and higher, which means the margins are slimming. And then another platform where if used correctly, the margins are getting wider and greater because the costs are less here than on Google. Now there's trade-offs, and we could talk a little bit about that today, but the margin of error is very slim with Google, whereas with Facebook, it is a lot wider. So if you're a newer company or if you have a smaller budget, it's a lot more low risk, and you're also getting the branding aspect out of it as well.
Yes. And that was the main thing we did when we first started posting on Facebook, was for branding purposes.
Yeah, when I ran my first Facebook boost for my business, not the first one, I probably did about 10, 12 different ones. I finally did one that really worked, and we landed a $50,000 job off that boost. So it was like, wow, it's like life-changing money. That paid for my boost for like 3 years straight or 4 years straight off that one job. It's crazy. It was a hoarder job.
Yeah, and obviously you're looking at the basics, right? Number one is just posting on Facebook. A lot of times when I have a call with somebody or I'm looking at some of their information, I'm really surprised when I see, even just on a personal level, like someone who has a personal Facebook profile who's talking nothing about their business, right? You don't see their business listed. You don't even see it in their jobs or their About Me or anything. And it's a huge missed opportunity. Obviously, also looking at just company-wide posting and stuff like that. And I'll talk a little bit about the expo, the difference between posting on like a personal profile, running ads, doing boosts, and then posting like on a business profile. There's a difference between all of them, but there's no reason not to do these things, especially when you consider the time involved. You could post on Instagram and Facebook, do it automatically between the two, and get that done relatively quick within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes. And, we'll often talk about door hangers, have door hangers. And when you finish a job, hang up some door hangers. But if you spend a whole day doing door hangers, that's great. But you won't, you won't get the people looking at it as much as you would if you just posted, like you just said. You're in front of so many people's faces just by posting on Instagram and Facebook, and it's so much easier than walking miles putting up door hangers.
Yeah, and that's just leveraging marketing at its finest, right? And that goes back to Google as well. You're leveraging a platform to get you visibility. And if you're running ads, obviously that comes at a cost. So with Facebook, whether it's a boost post or whether you're actually diving deep in Ads Manager and doing it that way, you're able to leverage a platform that's then going to get you in front of X amount of people for X amount of dollars. And then what you need to be doing on your end is basically understanding the metrics and the dynamics behind that. So if I'm spending $600 a month on my advertising and I'm running $20 a day, all right, what did I get back from that, right? Do I have that track? Do I have an understanding of everything that I got out of that? How many people saw me, right? How many people took the next step and, started the conversation with me? And then how many people actually work with me? These are things that are really important to know. And I think a lot of times, and I'm sure we'll see this at the expo, there's people who don't really know and they don't have that track. And that's another important area. Like, you want to know those things, because if that thing is giving you a lot of business, and let's say Facebook, you track that and you 5X that, now you can scale that, right? That's something you can build upon and maybe even put more money into it. It's working for you.
Mm-hmm. We have Alexander said, where is this? The Junk Expo takes place in Santa Rosa, California, October 24th and the 25th. And I put the link to the website so you can get more information in the chat. And so Blake, what would you say is the biggest mistake most businesses make when running Facebook ads?
Yeah, number one, this is going to be twofold, because you have the front end and the back end. I think on the front end, which is the ad itself, the biggest mistake is usually the utilization of like a very simple before and after photo, or a photo that's just not good enough to capture attention. All right, so that's going to be the front end. I love video. I love video content. Let me give you a couple of reasons why. One, your costs are cheaper through Facebook ads with video, because Facebook's prioritizing video right now. Look how popular Reels have been over the last 2 years to compete with TikTok. So video, not only are you going to get more visibility for the same amount of cost than you would with a photo, but you're going to get better engagement and more people in tune with your ad. You're going to get them to stop and scroll, which is step number one, right? The other major misconception is on the back end and closing the deals. And this is something I'm going to focus a lot of time on that I still see right now, right? And we talk to our clients a lot about. The way that you close a deal on Facebook is very different than the way that you would close a deal with somebody who maybe already knows who you are through Google Business Profile or even a Google call. There is an area of nurturing there, and that you need to go through to where you don't want to dive right into price, right? There's a flow that needs to take place. So I think the misconception is, hey, I can just close people the same way I always have. Maybe you've been giving prices and you give them a price right away. That's not necessarily where you want to be on Facebook, especially with messenger campaigns, because usually what we see is if somebody has, hey, what do you need removed? Okay, that looks like that's going to be $200. You're usually going to take that $200 quote and then move on to the next one, because there hasn't been enough rapport and enough trust built for them to just go right through you. All right, so those are going to be two key metrics that I'm really going to dive into, especially at the expo, to help people out.
Right on, right
That's
on.
good.
Now, I got a question for you. Now, is Messenger better than getting phone calls when you're running a Facebook ad?
So, and this is another good one. That's a great topic. Messenger campaigns have worked the best. You can do phone call campaigns, but I've seen a lot of spam and a lot of things that just haven't worked out there. Granted, every area is different, guys, right? You might have an area where you are running a call only ad and that's working for you. And if that is, that's great. But across the board, I've done Facebook ads in just about every single state at this point. Across the board, Messenger has been the best calls. And we're seeing those conversations and those flows kind of happen where they're going and turning into jobs. You could do lead form as well. We used to run lead form a lot about 3 or 4 years ago, and it worked. We noticed lately it doesn't seem to be working as well. I think we're seeing a lot of bout traffic on there. But you can do landing page. You could build a landing page and do a qualified lead form to kind of filter some of that out. Just know, and this goes for anything in marketing, when your quality goes up, the amount and the quantity goes down. All right. So you're trying to find the right balance of, all right, it's a higher quality, I'm willing to pay a higher cost, but just know you're not going to get as many opportunities that way because your quality went up. And that's usually the case in any form of marketing.
Now, what's the sweet spot on a video? Would it be like 10-second video, 15-second video? What would you say?
Yeah, I'd like to keep it under a minute, and I aim typically for 25 to 35 seconds. And the way that I like to do video, you guys do a great job of it. I see the videos that you post. the way that you like to do video, you want to have front facing in the beginning, and then you want to have a shift on the camera. Because usually, and we know this from like YouTube, if you have things kind of moving around, people stick for whatever reason. I don't know why that captures us. It just does. So if you have 30 seconds of you just talking about junk removal, you're probably going to lose them in the first 5 to 10 seconds. So you want to start off in that first couple seconds. Hey, I'm such and such for such a junk removal, and we service this area. And then while you're having that talking, usually B-roll clips, switching over to that, showing the work. You know, if you're doing a standard junk video, you could just show, you know, junk removal, people taking stuff out of the house. If you're doing a clean out, show a clean out. And then we like to finish it off with the back in front of the camera with the call to action. A call to action should be simple, one-step thing. Keep it as easy as possible for the customer. So it could be as simple as, you know, hey guys, click below. If you had like Learn More, you'd say click Learn More below to take advantage of our $30 special offer for the next month, for the next 30 days. Or hey guys, for the next 20 people who would take advantage of our offer, you know, we're doing a really big special of $100 off on a full trailer. Click below to take advantage of it while it lasts. So there's a lot of different ways you can do an ending CTA, urgency, special offers, or just as simple as, hey guys, if you need anything removed, click Learn More below. It will set you up with a free quote. It could be anything.
Such good information. Like really, if anybody that's watching right now and they're wanting to do, you know, their own little commercials, little, you know, snippets to post on Facebook, you actually touched on things that are super important, and that is front facing, eye contact, really direct, talk to the person, bring them in, be a little bit engaging, show things that are interesting, and then also end it with a call to action. It's like, that's perfect.
Yeah, and you have to understand, you know, one of the biggest metrics of people buying from you is know, like, and trust, right? Those are the factors we're trying to uncover. So when you do video, you're front facing, the first thing you're uncovering right away is they're seeing you and they're going, okay, this looks like somebody I would be willing to have in my home that I trust, right? Mm-hmm. And you're also covering a little bit of that. They might not know you yet, but okay, I like this person. I feel like this is somebody trustworthy. Then when you're going into the work that you provide, this is really neat, especially junk removal, because a lot of you don't know this, but a lot of your customers still have no idea how junk removal works. They're like, oh, you've actually come in the house? Like, I didn't know that. So when you're showing that, they're seeing that in that video and going, wow, they actually go in the house and take the stuff out. I don't have to do anything. I'm just kind of hanging out while this happens. You know, the whole don't lift a finger, let us do it, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're coming in at the end, it's just taking advantage of that information and then finally saying, hey, if this is something that you need, it's as simple as doing this.
Yes.
Right. And you guys got to keep in mind too, with your posting and with your ads, that not everybody's going to see that the first time and take action. And that's one of the beauties of Facebook ads is that somebody's going to see your ad that doesn't have junk that needs removed right now. Right? They just don't have anything, right? They don't have a need for service. But if that ad's been running for a month, 3 months, 6 months, and this is like the 12th time they've seen an ad, and they finally are like, you know what, there is some crap in the garage that we really should get rid of that's in the way. Think of it this way. They're going to see that ad and take action. Or B, if they do go to Google, and this is the untracked metric that we love about Facebook, the branding aspect. If they go to Google and you're in the map pack or you're able to be found there, right? Let's say you're able to be found organically, or you're running a Google paid ad, either way. And you're going to be matched up with probably 2-3 competitors, right? Think about the leverage you have if they're like, oh, I remember them. I saw their ad. Don't you think you're a lot more likely for them to call you and move forward with you?
Yes.
So now we can't put data behind that metric. We can't say, oh, hey, we know for a fact we got this many calls from that. But we know that's happening. That's just by nature. And that's the branding aspect of that, like a Facebook. Those are going to be things you never truly knew. And you can be like, hey, where'd you find me? And they're going to be like, Google. You might be lucky enough. And we do have a client. I have a local client here. He has an ad. We've been running it for about a year. And it's one of those ads. It's crushing it. You don't touch it. You let that thing keep running as long as you don't see any changes. He's got probably as close to 200 comments on that ad now. And they're like, you know, Ryan's great. Ryan's spectacular. Oh my gosh, like Ryan and his team. And he told me, he's like, I feel like a celebrity because people will be like, man, I keep seeing you everywhere. I see you all the time. Because they're seeing that Facebook ad. And it's just building that trust, right? It's just building that gear of man, maybe it took that person 15 times to finally see it, but they're like, I gotta work with Ryan. Everybody's talking about how great Ryan is. So it's acting almost like a Google business profile in a way, right? Because it's got like reviews. And that's a really cool aspect of Facebook I like as well on the long term, not the short term.
I totally agree with you. I'm running one Facebook boost. I've been running it, the same one I landed that $50,000 job on for the last like 2 years. And I got over like 300 comments on it, over 2,000 likes. And that right there is like a Google My Business review right there. When they see that 200 likes, a bunch of comments, people just trust you off just that. So I keep that thing just running. I don't touch it. It makes me so much money. And it's like, I don't want to mess with it. It's like, it's doing so good.
Yep. And that's, you're trying to build upon something like that. And that's the long-term vision of Facebook, to have something like that. And I know that can be hard, right? You want to see the short-term effects of it in the long term. And it does depend. Some areas, you'll see right away, you'll start to see it really take shape. Some others not as much. And that can be a hard thing to really give it, like you said, you had a quick win, right? Where it's like, now you're paid for. You're like, we're good. We can let this thing roll.
It took a while, though. I did a bunch of different boosts, and none of them stuck. Yeah. One did stick, though.
Yeah. So, but that's the long-term vision of it, where you have that. And then there's other aspects too, right? Like that's one campaign. You want to have different campaigns over time, depending on what your ad spend is, where it's like, here's one maybe about junk removal. Here's one that's aligned towards like demo, right? Hot tubs, shed removals. Here's one for clean outs. Because the other aspect is you're like, hey, how can I utilize Facebook in a way where maybe this clean out ad could get me a clean out once a month or twice a month to really give me another boost of, all right, now I'm getting larger jobs and I'm extending my job size, which that's another area of opportunity as well.
Right on, right on. Loving it, loving it.
Yeah, I really, really love it. So you pretty much touched on this already. How do you approach building a winning Facebook ad strategy from scratch?
Yeah, so step one is going to be like we talked about, right? I want to go video. And I know every time we talk about this, I get on, I say, there's definitely somebody watching right now who's like, oh, but man, I don't know how to do video. I'm uncomfortable with that. So was I. Trust me, like as uncomfortable as you could possibly be behind a camera was me. Eventually, though, I said, you know what? This is where business is going to be. All right. People are really going to trust, and I'm going to set myself backwards by not getting one video. The other thing that I understood is that your competitors feel the same way. So most of your competitors are not going to do video, even if it's successful, because it's uncomfortable. And we hate doing uncomfortable things as humans. We can't stand it, right? This is the reason why people stay at 9-to-5 jobs for 20 years and can't stand it, because it's uncomfortable to leave. We don't like to do uncomfortable things, right? They're scary. So video. Get comfortable doing video. It does not have to be perfect. Have some fun with it. Show some character. Show who you are. But that's step number one. All right. And you can follow the frameworks that I talked about. We've got some different frameworks I can send you guys as well. If you want to post on the channel or post it as a resource, I'd be happy to send it to you. I'm here to give value. All right. Number two is going to be your ad copy. All right. So understanding that the first order of business on Facebook is that they're scrolling. All right. So you got to give them something that connects with them and aligns with them to do business with you. So usually that's going to be at the top of the ad copy, either having the location you service, or simply, do you need junk removed? Do you need X, Y, and Z? Okay. And the reason being is because they don't see your whole ad. They see it's called above the fold. So if you're scrolling on Facebook, you guys know this, like, when you have a sponsored ad, it's not always going to show the whole ad. It'll have that a little bit and then see more. Mm-hmm. So your top two lines are really important because they might not be able to see the rest, right? And your video is really important. So it's important to now use that to connect with them right away and get to the point. You don't want to write an ad that's like, hey, we've been in business for 15 years. We're the number 1 junk removal company. Everybody said, you know what I mean? Like that's what everybody's saying.
You just be like, hey, stop strolling. Do you have junk?
Boom. That's great, right? Like I'd be like, yeah, I do. Like you want to flip it and put yourself in their shoes. If I was the customer, what would get me to stop if I had junk removed? All right. And then simplify that, right? The rest of your ad copy, most likely, if it's long, they're not reading it. I'm going to be honest with you. Attention spans are 3 to 5 seconds. So with that being the case, I like it to be scrollable. So the way that you can make that scrollable is keep it like single line. So for instance, you could say, do you need junk removed? We offer the following, and have like an emoji and a single line of a couple of things that you do. Don't put 20 things. You know what I mean? Just put like 5 or 6. They can scroll it and then have your CTA at the bottom. You always want to put your CTA. Always. That's because they're going to scroll top to bottom usually. So it'll be like, do you need junk removed? I'm the customer. I'm like, yes, I do. All right, what's the next step? And I go to the bottom and it's like, click below to set up for your free estimate or to take advantage of offer or whatever your CTA is. All right. That's simple ad copy in a nutshell. You have ChatGPT and some programs that can help you. I'm going to warn you though, ChatGPT gets a little emoji heavy and it tends to do the same thing. So if we get to a point where everybody's starting to use the same ad copy from ChatGPT, you're not going to stand out anymore, which that's going to happen here probably within the next year. So
I got a question for you. What do you think about this? I have so many customers saying, I was thinking about junk removal. I was talking about it with my husband. Then all of a sudden your Facebook ad popped up. Like, what do you think about that? Does Facebook know? Your phone does know, right?
Yeah, their algorithm is super smart. If you recently Googled it, hell, if you talked about it, they're listening to us. I'm telling you right now, like,
they know.
I got something random and got a random ad. That was that night. So yeah, absolutely. And not everybody. Some people are going to see the ad who didn't. Right? You're getting in front of a lot of people. That's something else. I'll kind of uncover with you guys. There's an average there, but if you're running $10 a day right now with a video, you're probably roughly going to get anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 impressions on that ad now. With video. If you're running $20 a day, you can get upwards to anywhere like 55, 60,000 people that are seeing it. So that gives you an idea of, all right, what's the visibility? They'll rotate it. They'll have some people they hit a little bit harder. They're going to be testing out their algorithm. But, you want to set your proper demographics, right? Set your target area. I can't tell you how many times I've seen an ad that somebody didn't set that properly for whatever. Usually I think it's in boost posts. I think people run boost posts and they'll set it to like, target people who have liked my page or something like that. And then it starts at junk removal guys who are in Texas when you're in California. Yeah. These are things to be aware of, but you have to set that. You have to set that demographic and make sure that you have your demographics, your audience set properly. I usually like to target 33 and above. It's usually where that's been the sweet spot for me, 33 to 65. One interesting thing I will uncover is I've tested pretty heavily trying to target just women and not men, because usually women are the target demographic. We've seen calls always go up with that. Not really sure. And even in major markets, because you could say, it's probably because you cut your audience size in half. I've tested in like major cities where it's like 500,000 or more, and we've still seen that. So feel free to test that, but that's what I've seen. That's a little odd, but don't go too in depth with like targeting. Guys, anybody needs junk removal. When you start trying to target different keywords and stuff like waste management, like because somebody don't have an interest in waste management doesn't mean they don't need junk removal. You know what I mean? Let Facebook do its part. Hit the ages, hit your market, hit your demographic, but don't go too crazy because you're only going to limit your ad hurting in that regard.
Yeah. So what you're seeing right now, everybody, is just a little snippet, a sneak peek of what you're going to see at the Junk Expo. And I'll let you know just a little bit on Saturday, on the second day, Matt and I will start the day with the branding. So we're going to talk about branding, the importance of it, how to do it. We're going to show you examples of, not so good pictures and great pictures, and also give you some tips on how to, do take those type of pictures. And you are going to follow us. So I have you just next, right after ours, because I thought, we're talking about branding and the importance of it and how to stand out from the crowd. And then you can come along and tell them, now that you have content, this is what you do with it.
Yeah, and talk about big shoes to follow. But I'm really excited because there is a connection there, right? The way that you brand your company, obviously, if you have a unique brand and unique way of doing business. Maybe you're veteran owned, maybe there's a lot of firefighter owned junk removal companies here. We've seen that pick up steam, right? Maybe there's something unique that you do. These are things that should be a part of your brand and who you are. And they will help you out a lot when it comes to not only branding your company just organically, but also with a Facebook ad. Because if you have something unique, you can put that at play with your ad and take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. Maybe it can be some illegal dumping you're picking up on the side of the road. You make a short little video talking about, hey, don't do this. Let's keep Sonoma County clean. If you guys have any trash you need hauled away, please let us know. We are the people. So I really, really believe if you're running a junk removal business and you're not utilizing Facebook, you're leaving so much money on the table. And I'm really getting into Facebook boosts, Facebook ads more since I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos. And I was really excited for you to come out after I talked to Xavier and stuff. He's the one that dropped your name. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit him up. So I'm excited to learn so much more about Facebook ads. So I'm gonna have a paper and a pen when you're up there speaking for sure. I'll write down all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's so many things to it, and I'm going to cover as many layers as I can, especially the most helpful ones. It's funny you mentioned Xavier because I know he's doing a deep dive on Facebook right now, and I think he's probably seen the same things, right? Where he's so familiar with Google and so familiar with so many different layers of business, and his books, if you haven't read them, guys, they're amazing. But now he's kind of studying Facebook a little bit and seeing I think because he sees the opportunity that's there, right? You have a platform that's been so trusted for so long, and there's going to be a lot of change. And I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm saying that to make them aware. Google is really battling right now with the AI platforms. You got Google AI mode, you got ChatGPT, which they're battling against. So you're going to see differences in search. You're seeing differences in costs with Google ads. And eventually, you're going to probably have ChatGPT ads. And that'll be the new wave, right? So with all those changes with Google, you have this other platform in Facebook that isn't going anywhere, and the costs have been better and better and better. It's just finding that secret recipe to make it work for you, for your business, and in your area, right? And it's not a one size fits all. I wish it was, but there are dynamics that you could take that more often than not will put you in a place where you can be successful.
Right on. Now I got a question. How long should you test an ad to see if it's working? Like 3 days, a week? How long should you test it for?
That's a great question. A big layer of that's going to be how much are you spending there too, right? If you were spending $100 a day, it wouldn't be like giving a month. Most people are probably going to be boosting a post and testing it out at $10 and $20 a day, somewhere around that, maybe $5. I don't like to look at anything less than 2 weeks of data personally, unless it's above $30 a day on a campaign. And that's because from my experience, I have seen campaigns in the first week be really slow, and I've almost panicked and made changes, and then they took off that second week and looked great. So I like to look at it in 2 week increments. I'll start looking at data on the first 2 weeks, then the next 2 weeks in that month that I'm kind of combining. There's a lot of things that can offset your data. Give you a few examples. Weather. We've noticed a lot of times the weather's bad for a week. It's rained all week. That changes things, right? You might not see as many calls, might not see as much traction on your ad. Seasonality, right? That's another big one. Is it winter? Is it summer? Is it spring? And then another piece of it that is big is holidays. If you ran it on around the 4th of July and everybody was gone for the weekend and you didn't see much, it could have just been because of that weekend of holiday. All right. So I like to say at least 2 weeks unless you're spending a really large chunk. And what's unique is boost posts are going to do a little different than a back-end ad as well. So boost posts are usually geared early on to get people who have already interacted with your page in the beginning. And then obviously over time, they're going to have to expand outwards of that, right? So sometimes you might see, and somebody watching maybe experience this, where a boost post did really well early on and then starts to just die down later on. And it's because it hit that target audience of people who are already sort of familiar with you first, and they already had the know, like, trust factor. And now you're starting to get to an audience that really doesn't know you as well, and you needed a little bit more oomph on that ad. You needed something extra because they didn't know who you are. And that makes a significant difference both in how your ad performs and also how you're selling, because it's easier to sell to somebody who already knows you.
Now I got a question for you too. That one Facebook boost that I'm running that has over like 2,000 likes, am I able to go in there and like freshen up and do new pictures without losing like all the comments and all the likes, or will it lose everything?
It's a dangerous game you can play. So yes, you're supposed to, but there have been times where I've made a change or moved and tried to like duplicate and carry it over, and I've seen it not carry over. Usually I have not seen it often where if you make a change in there as far as your content, your copy, usually that sticks. Images, I've seen that too, or video. Now, I don't want to say 100% no, because you know what I mean? That it could happen. There is a small risk there, but usually anything with ad copy or anything with imagery, it's been able to retain that engagement. But just be very careful with that. I'll give you an example, and this is what I was talking about. If you do it on the back end, so outside of Boost Post, if you did it through Ads Manager, there's an opportunity to duplicate an ad, and it says to carry over, you know, the engagement. I have seen before where we've duplicated, and it did not carry over that engagement, even though we tried to do that. So it can be a little finicky, but you should be safe with just ad copy or an image change or video change.
Okay. Now, when you got a good ad running, let's say like you're targeting the right audience, you got all these pinpoints in certain areas and you're seeing the money flow come in. Now, do you like duplicate that same exact post and then just change the pictures with the offer that you're doing? Like maybe you want to do a hot tub removal or maybe a hoarder house removal. Like, how do you go by doing that when you have one working really good? Just duplicate it, or just try to I'm trying to figure out if I got one running really good, can I just copy it and then just change the pictures on it and change what the offer is?
Yeah, I mean, you still want to make some changes if it's geared towards another specific thing. So for instance, you know, if your junk removal ad was working really well and the top of it was like, do you need junk removed? I'd probably want to switch that over to like, hey, do you have an old hot tub hanging around in the backyard? I'd probably want to change a little bit of that, some of the copy. Same as the video content. I like to match what I'm doing. So if we're running an ad for a hot tub, I want to have a video that's geared towards hot tubs, right? So I want them to be different personally. You know, you can take some aspects of it that are working, but you know, if you're just trying to transfer it over and it's like same ad copy, but an image of a hot tub, that's probably not going to work nearly as well, because you're not matching everything in regards to the copy and the graphics or the video that's, you know, set out with it, you know, because the copy is probably, you know, without me seeing it, probably geared more towards like everything. Whereas it would be better to like hit that exact topic if you're going to build a campaign specifically for it.
Okay.
So we have just a basic question, because, you know, not everybody's done anything on Facebook. You know, so sometimes people don't, you know. And so Alexander is wondering, what is a Facebook boost?
Yeah, so Boost Post is set up to be a very easy introduction to Facebook ads. All right. So Meta's backend is way more confusing than it needs to be. I'll be the first to say that. So maybe they recognize that. So within your Facebook business page, you can set up to advertise in there and boost a post. So you can do this a couple different ways. You literally use a post that you've already set up, and it'll say boost this post, and it'll have that with that post. You can also do a boost post ad without an actual post. You can create one and then run that as a boost post ad as well. What most people do is, for boost posts, from what I've seen typically, is they'll have a post that they've already had, maybe had some engagement, and Facebook's usually going to come up and be like, hey, do you want to get this in front of more people? And then you would set a budget and boost posts inside of there. So it's going to be within your Facebook business page, that boost post and advertisement center. You can do it a couple different ways. I'm going to tell you this. I like boost posts. I think there are some areas of opportunity there, but it goes back to what I said before. You could run into in the long term where you see some success with a boost post and then it dies down. If you see that, it's because that ad hit that audience that you've built some trust with, but it's not working for the audience that doesn't have that same trust. Maybe they just don't know who you are, right? That would you kind of indicate, all right, it's time for a change. I like to run my ads on the back end in Ads Manager, but I know that's not for everybody because it can be complicated. So Boost Post is a more simplified way to get that going, and even using something that you've already put content together for on your page.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Alexander, the next time you're on Facebook, I know now you'll notice that under your post, you'll often see, I think it's a little blue tag and it says boost post, and you can just click that and it will take you to, and it, like you said, it is much simpler than the Facebook ad. It is pretty simple.
It is. It's 10 times easier, but it has limitations in some regard, right? And it's because you have to picture it from Facebook's perspective. That is you getting a taste, usually of Facebook ads, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to do everything in their power to give you that quick win, right? If it's like, I'm going to boost it for $20. They're like, man, I'm going to do everything we can to get them that quick win so we'll spend more money with the platform.
Yes, exactly.
It's misleading because, I mean, there's posts that shouldn't be ran as ads and it'd be like, do you want to boost this post? And it's like, with an audience that doesn't know you, that post wouldn't work. It's working for an audience that knows you. So there are differences and there's things to understand there. And I'm going to try and dive deeper into that. But, the cool thing about Boost is you can do it at a very small budget.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing because you're not nearly at the same level of risk as you are if, say, you were trying to run your own Google ads. Now you got to figure out, all right, I'm getting clicks, but I'm not getting calls. Why is that? I'm going through a data gathering phase. There's so many things to uncover there. And granted, you can still run your own Google ads, but I think that is harder than Facebook. Facebook's biggest area of opportunity, in my opinion, it's not trying to, it's hard to learn everything that goes into an ad. I think people could definitely figure that out. I think the hard part is that last step of closing. I think that's where people really struggle. And one of the reasons is because they're not quick enough to respond. And it's really hard. Think about it, guys. Most of them, they're on the truck, they're driving, they're on a job. You have to be very quick. So one of the first things I noticed, we were 3 months in and I'm like, all right, I see these good opportunities here, but it's taken my guys 6 hours to respond back to them and they're not coming back, right? Because you have to be quick. So I had built a team to basically qualify for them. And I think, that was an area that really gave us a lot of leverage and was really helpful because now it's like, hey, not only am we running Facebook ads for you, but I got a team that can help you when you're on the truck or when you're not able to communicate and do these things. And you could build that yourself too, but obviously that's another layer, right? Is that hiring somebody to do it, training somebody to do it? How much does it cost? So there's some different layers, but that can be very challenging. And I get it. You're on the truck, you're doing the job for those that are.
Now I got a question. What are the best ways to reply automatically? Is it like, hey, you want me to swing by and give you a free estimate? Hey, can I get your phone number? Hey, do you want to book now? What do you put in there to get the best response back from people?
Yeah, if you're jumping right into let me give you an on-site estimate or let me give you a price, it's like trying to get a kiss on the first date right as soon as you sat down at the table. All right. So we want to build a relationship. We want to build rapport. All right. So first order of business is we want to find out what they need removed. That's step one. All right. So you can build in there a messaging prompt with messenger ads that starts the conversation in that way. So the way that we like to start the conversation is, hey, what do you need removed? We'll be right back with you shortly. Okay. So they see that and they can say, I have 8 chairs, a couch, an end table, blah, 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 blah. All right. So, okay, I know what the job looks like. I have an idea. My response then is going to come in. I'm going to personalize. I want to speak by name. I'm going to have that information. So I'll say, hey, Jessica, great. Yeah, look, we could definitely take care of those kind of items. Where are you located? So I'm just building rapport. I'm having a conversation. I'm not saying, what is your address? That's where you're located, right? There's a big difference between what's your address and where you're located, okay? Then I want to dive into the urgency. So when are you looking to have this done by? This is very important because if they're like, oh, next month, and maybe at the end of the summer, they're shopping. They're looking for a price now. But if they're like, actually, I need this done like now, like tomorrow, today, those kind of people, they are similar to now like a Google call. They have that urgency, right? Which is what we want. So we want to treat these things differently, okay? If you have that, you have an opportunity, you have a golden opportunity now. I do not want to then go into and be like, well, based on what you told me, that'll be $300. And I see this a lot. Okay. Because what you just did is you just lost all leverage, all of it. Because what's going to happen is when you give that, they're usually either A, going to move forward, which doesn't happen as often as it should, or B, start shopping it. And once they start shopping it, you've already lost because somebody's going to beat it. In this space, somebody's going to beat it. Don't underestimate the power you have in selling in person, especially when you're paying to get in front of these opportunities. So what I want to do then is I want to say, great, based on what you told me, we have availability literally today, or tomorrow, based on what they said. I want to get them in within 48 hours. I want to get on site, and I want to explain to the customer why this is in the best interest to them, not the best interest of you, right? We make that mistake. We're like, the reason we do on sites is because, it's hard for us to price it this way. I want to flip that and use that information to their benefit. So I want to be like, the way that we do this, we charge based on the amount of space taken up on the truck. And what we've noticed is it can be really hard until we see the items in person. And the last thing that I want to do is give you an inaccurate quote. So why don't I come by? I'm able to see everything in person. It's a no obligation estimate. Does that seem fair to you? I could come by today between 2 to 4. At this point, they're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to set up the estimate, or they're going to go, well, are you sure you can't give me a price? And that's going to be your first objection. Usually people crumble at this point. They're like, oh, well, yeah, it's probably like $300. Don't crumble with that objection. All right. Re-emphasize why it's important for you to get in person. Now, guys, if it's a single item, I do not need you driving 20 minutes to quote a mattress and a box spring. All right. That's different. I'm talking about jobs that are worthwhile here, right? Anything from a quarter load and onwards. If you're super busy and you're not worried about closing a quarter load, then make it a half load or more. All right. These are things for you to decide in your business. But I love flipping it to we do it for you, because realistically you are. How hard is it for you to misquote something based on pictures? So hard. It's so easy to misquote something on pictures. Like, imagine pictures are super deceiving. Like, if you've ever been looking for a house to buy a house, have you ever bought a house just based on the pictures?
No.
Very different.
Never do that. No.
How everybody watching has probably got a picture where it was like a dirt pile, and they're like, yeah, here it is. Oh, by the way, I've got these 18 other things in the garage. That's part of that quote you gave me too, right? Puts you in a bad spot. And puts them in a bad spot, because now they're like, what? You told me 300 and it's not? I don't want anybody in that position. So I love for them to get on site, because on site closes 80, 90% of the time. You're already there. You build a rapport. And you know what? If you got a barter there for whatever reason, you have opportunities to barter in a way as well, right? It could be something as simple as they're like, oh, well, I can't really afford 500. Like, that's not in the budget. And you go, okay, I totally understand. I know with the economy, things are a little tough right now. Look, that would be our price for the items you have here, but maybe I can take half these items out of here for $250 or $300, and we could do the rest of them at another time. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Hard for you to do that on Facebook, but that's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to do that on Facebook at all. It's better to get money in the truck for sure. Now I got a question for you. How often do you follow up when people ghost you? Let's say they message you, hey, I need like a bed frame removed, and then you respond back, you don't hear nothing. Do you do it later on in the day? Do you do it in the morning? Do you wait 2 days? How many times do you do it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I want to touch base with them, make sure that I'm responding as quick as possible that day, and then touch base again probably later that day, depending on the timing, right? If it came in at like 5 o'clock, I'm not going to message them again at 7. I might go the next morning. But I like to hit them within, respond. And then if I haven't heard anything, hit them again within that 24-hour mark. And then one more time the next day, just double back. If it's me handling that, right? If I'm the client. On our end, it's tough for us. We don't want to overdo it, because obviously, like, if there's a bad kickback there, that would put us in a bad spot. So if you're following up in that way, I would do it in that regard. I was always taught, like, look, until I get a no, it's not a no. You know what I mean? So don't overdo it. Don't make people upset, but do your due diligence. I mean, you paid for this ad and they came in and they're an opportunity and there was some interest there. Eventually, they're either going to not respond and you're going to move on, or they're going to say, actually, we already had this taken care of, right? The big follow-up is usually, if you're quick enough, people are usually going to respond back. If you can get to them, you can respond within 10, 15 minutes. I like to aim for 5 personally, but even if within 10, 15 minutes, they're probably going to get back to you, especially if you're building that rapport like that. If you get a response, it's like, I got to talk to my husband, or I got to talk to my wife, or I got to do these things, then give them that day and follow up there. But usually if you get that, it's going to be hard for you to close more often than not.
I always tell them like this: what if your wife says no, or what if your husband says no?
Yeah,
I don't say that.
He doesn't.
I don't do that.
It's funny. And you could say that. I mean,
Right?
that's a question. Guys, I think we get really uncomfortable with sales objections because we don't want to be pushy. And I'm not a pushy sales guy either. I'm sure I've left a lot of money on the table, and it's because that's just my moral code, right? I don't want to push anybody in anything. I want them to work with me if they want to work with me and it's a fit. But there is an area there where it's like handling objections is important. Sometimes there's a deeper rooted issue that we just haven't gotten to the calls of, and this is the sales 101, where, being able to have that conversation, there can be keys unlocked there. If you can find a friendly way where they're like, I got to talk to my husband, and it's like, hey, that's totally fine. Would your husband be there tomorrow? Because if he's there, we could do the on-site estimate with both of you right there present, and there's no obligation, right? Like, I could say that, and that's not being too forceful or pushy, right? It's just
I like that
resolution. So there are ways where we can balance that. And I had mentioned it, and I said it, and I like to use this again. I like to say, does that seem fair? And you can say it your own ways, but one of the reasons I like that is because now you're putting that human element, like the customer is, on saying that you showing up for free and taking your time out of your day to do that isn't fair. And that's like very hard for somebody to say that that's not fair, because that's as fair as it gets. You're showing up for your business to take time out of your day to give them an estimate with no obligation. They could say no and you could head home. That's pretty fair.
Yeah. And one thing I like to do too is I tell people, you know what, we can squeeze you in at this time if that works for you. And people love that. Oh, you're squeezing me in. Okay, awesome.
They feel special.
They feel special.
Yes, because again, remember we were talking about how we framed it in their best interests?
Yeah.
Now you've just built status. They're like, man, they're so busy that they're like willing to fit me in their schedule. Yeah. That hits. You know what I mean? Where somebody's like, well, this is a valued company and I should value them, and maybe I should take that spot, because I like that too. Because what happens is now the kind of the wheels are turning where they're like, well, what if I call 3 other companies and they are more expensive or not quite the same, and then I can't get in with them if they have that urgency, right? If they're like, a couple months, they don't care. You know what I mean? But with that urgency, if you get, and that's why I love to ask that question, I want to know, because if they have that urgency, that's another way where you can get the wheels turning, where it's like, look, I actually do have a spot. I have one last spot for today that fits the exact time frame that you have. Let's lock that in now. Even if you got to talk to your husband or your wife, that's perfectly fine. But let's at least get you on the schedule to where we can give you that estimate. And if it's a fit, great. We'll be there. We'll take care of it same day. How's that sound? And now the only risk you take is them just canceling. Right. And this is another reason why I like to get in within 48 hours, because cancellations are way higher. You can't get them in within 48 hours. Way higher.
Yes, it is.
No, I totally agree with that for sure. Get to them as soon as possible. We had a guy last minute today call up and he said, hey, you want to make some money today? Can you be in Roanoke Park at a certain time? And I called my guys up. They're at the dumps finishing the day. And I said, hey, you guys got to get over there. They're like, all right, cool. They went over there. They got a full load out of it. They got like $100 in tip money. So the customer was hella happy. I'm going to send them a link for a review. I forgot to do that, JoJo. So that's one thing you definitely want to do out there. Do not sleep on sending reviews. And I slept on sending a review, JoJo.
Did you? Really?
You ought to slap my ass right now.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because, we talk about the smaller jobs, right? They're not everybody's favorite. You got to battle back and forth. I'm like, oh my gosh, it costs this much for you to take my couch, but it's in great shape. I've had it for 20 years and it only has one stain. Like, we get annoyed with that, but that job there, if they end up being a customer, is a review for you, is a potential customer down the line who you never know, might have a garage full of stuff 3 months from now, might have a family member pass away that has an estate clean out where they really need somebody that they trust, and you've built that trust because you've been able to do a job. do not underestimate the power of even a smaller job. And I get it. They're not the most, economy. They're not satisfactory in a way of like, man, this is big money for us. But there's opportunity there. Google reviews, LTV. Don't sleep on that. But obviously, when I'm looking at Google ads or Facebook ads, I am trying to prioritize how can I get a higher average ticket, right? And get somebody to where, hey, if your average ticket is 300, I want to get you closer to 400 or 500. How can I do that? Well, I just need some more bigger jobs, right? And I'll aim in that direction.
No, I totally agree with you. On like a lost lead, you show up, you ain't making no money, but you never know. Their neighbor might be outside. They're going to let their neighbors know about you. They're going to blast you on Facebook saying how good of a job you did. So I have no problem showing up or having my guy show up, tackle a job, and we don't make really nothing. It's okay. We're going to get that review, like you said, and we're going to get that customer on the team for life. And that's like priceless right there.
Yeah. And especially if you're slower. I've ran into situations where guys are slower and they're kind of giving that kind of job a side eye. And I'm like, you're in a position where this is more important to you than ever. You're slower, right? You need that Google review. You need that neighbor to see your truck. You need these opportunities here to get you to the next level. Now, if you're super swamped and you can't get to it, that's another story, right? And it goes back to it's not always going to be a one size fits all, but the opportunity is there. And, I'm lucky enough to work with companies that are, doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million a year. And I'm going to tell you, those companies will treat those single items like they're gold. A lot of times, hey, that's a review for me. That's a chance. They're not giving it a side eye. So when I see those companies doing that, I'm like, hey, there's something to follow there. There's a reason they're looking at it that way. And they've seen that extension of LTV, right? It's important. And it stacks up.
There's value in your contact list, in your CRM. You can text blast them later on, do an email blast. You just never know during the holidays or something. So get them all on the team. Get them all.
Get them all.
Get them all. That's all I got to say is get everyone on the team.
So we have Alexander that says he's trying to build a platform for people to follow him. So he's going to be starting, I think he said, in just a couple of weeks. So just really quick, it is really important to get on all those platforms. And Matt and I did that before we even had our pickup truck. So we kind of just, we did the website and we did the Facebook and, we just had all that ready and we just hit the ground running once because it took a while to save the money to get the first pickup truck because we didn't start this business with, just rolling in the dough.
No, we was broke as hell. Let me tell you,
broke.
Blake, we was broke as hell. I was stressed out.
So just really quick, Alexander, if you're starting that way too, where, you just don't have a ton of money for advertising and this and that, make sure you utilize every single free platform you can.
Yep.
You forgot the most important thing, JoJo.
What is that?
Come to the JUNK EXPO 2025 is going down October 24th and 25th.
I mean, look at how much you've learned. You have learned something within the past 1 hour, I am sure. And just imagine 2 full days of stuff like this.
Yeah, and I know a lot of those speakers. I'm going to tell you, they know their stuff. I've met with some of them personally. I've spoken with a lot of them. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of good stuff. And I'm a huge fan. I always have been of in-person events. I've been to, marketing seminars. And most of the stuff I learned was from in-person events, either building relationship or learning from the speakers. So, I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of this. I truly do believe in in-person events. I think there's so much value that you can get out of them. And Matt, to what you said, man, same. I started with nothing. So I understand, Alexander, it's going to be about utilizing your time. In business, you have 2 areas, time and money, right? If you don't have the money, you got to use the time.
Yep. And I was going to say last year's JUNK EXPO was so much fun and people loved just talking and networking. And we had speakers, but every once in a while I heard people say, oh, I loved the networking. I didn't really listen to the speakers much. I was doing other things. I was doing other stuff. And I'm like, you're not going to be doing that this time because the information, we were very, very careful with who we picked And we knew that they would bring such value that like we are going to learn from. Yeah, we're learning. So, you know, if you didn't listen last year, you're crazy. If you're not listening, they loved it. Everybody loved it, but they had enjoyed the networking so much and talking to others. But this time there's over 12 speakers and they're all so incredibly knowledgeable that, you know, you should make sure you're sitting in a seat with pen and paper and taking notes if you're going to be at the Junk Expo.
Yeah, and that's a big part of events, and the networks is great too. You know what I mean? You're going to have a chance to network with people who are in a similar, you know, kind of similar space as you, where maybe they're having the same monthlies, right, and monthly income, and trying to get to the next level just like you. Maybe they've already done it, right? Speakers, you know, so many of the speakers that I'm aware of, I know have worked with people who have been in that spot as well, and they're able to kind of see what does that take, myself included. You know, we've worked with companies who have been day one with us, who hadn't even done a junk removal job, right? Maybe they sold a business, maybe they had some income stacked up to do that, and then have worked with companies who were already seven figures, who started working with us then, right? So I've seen just about every layer in this industry, and there's always something that you can take that will help you or that you can learn. You're never in a place where you're done learning, me included. I can't wait to hear some of the speakers talk about some of the stuff that they've seen or that they've done, because that's only value that I can then transfer to the people who work with me in the future as well.
And I totally agree with that. All it takes is a few gold nuggets to change the way you run your business. That can make you so much money.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And the one way me and JoJo learned back in the day was YouTube. You watched a lot of YouTube videos, and you can only get so much information off YouTube. There's only so many people out there making videos. So when you come to an event like this one, you got all the top dogs there. And when I say top dogs, I'm saying we got Barry Hartman is making like $5 million a year. We got Jake Steels that's out there killing it with junk rescues. I mean, some real hitters in the building. And then we got a bunch of people that are just coming there that you can just walk around, talk to, network with, that are actually killing the game too. They're running major bunch of trucks and just killing it.
Yep. And that's the combo that you get with in person. I'm a huge fan of in-person events, because, you know, the networking, the things you can learn, and then listen to speakers, you're kind of getting in a couple different areas to where, you know, if you have a hole in your business, it might be able to be filled or get you to the point where you can fill it by learning these things. And business is really hard, guys. You know, me, you, all of us, like we are really focusing on our business and trying to grow it. And we get stuck in this day to day, where sometimes there's something like right under our nose that's like so simple, and somebody just says it and you're like, oh my goodness, like why was I doing that? And you know, that's going to happen. I guarantee you, it's going to happen for me. It's going to happen for you, where we're like, oh my, like that was so simple. Why wasn't I doing that? Why didn't I think of that? And you're just so consumed in the day to day that it just hadn't processed.
Yeah. JB says, I think he was a little bit confused about when we show up at a customer and they're sticker shocked, and instead of just walking away, kind of what we do. He says, what do you do when the customer doesn't want you to take you don't take it all? Do you take the low pay or move on to? I think that's what he didn't quite explain it that well in his question, but I think that's what he meant. Like, we will tell people that do our classes that since you're there, you know, find out what their budget is, you know, and don't let the customer like set your price. This is different. This is, what is your budget? Oh, and if it's like reasonable, what we do is we offer to take the big bulky stuff, you know, the things that they just can't take themselves if they don't have a truck, you know. So it'd be like, what's priority to you, you know? And then they'll be like, well, I need, the couch is gone and these mattresses, you know. And then we're like, well, we can do that. That's going to take up this much space. It's going to cost this, and that headache will be gone. And then you'll have the smaller stuff, you know, and that then we'll do that, right? But I'll tell you, often after we've done those things, they'll turn around and say, oh, why don't you just take it all and I'll just pay the full load price.
Yeah. And like you said, you want to honor your prices. It just gives you an area to negotiate if there's multiple items, right? To where you could do that and you didn't waste your time coming out there and you're not just leaving. And you know, you're getting to the root of the problem. Again, maybe that is what they have. Maybe their budget, they only have so much and you could take some of that and then come back in a week, a couple weeks or whatever. Or like you said, maybe you start doing there like, you know what, I got a credit card, or, you know, something in some regard. But it's just a matter of, and I don't want you guys to think that's going to happen every time you do an on-site. Most on-sites, you're going to close them. And that's why we like to push on-site. But it's another layer, you know, that you can unravel to help yourself be like, all right, well, you know, I paid, gas isn't cheap, right? Especially for those of you out in California. Like, all right, you know, labor, like, okay, why don't we at least get something out of this if we can salvage this? But I don't want you to like go lower your prices. That's not something I suggest. In fact, most people, I think their prices are too low and they're not giving themselves enough credit. And it's because it is hard in the space and you have a lot of undercutters. It's just a matter of them understanding how to set the value to a point and helping the customer understand the difference. Matt, you actually said this earlier, use that as an example, where I do like to tell my guys and my clients, like, you know, look, if you're getting pushback or somebody had a lower quote, put it out there to like, what are the risks of that, right? Are they insured? What happens if they get hurt on your property, somebody there, right? Or what if they just illegally dump it and it's traced back to you? These are things that happen.
Yep.
Educate your customer on that. And don't assume that they know that. They're just hearing a lower price. But if you educate them on that, there's a chance they may turn around and go, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Now I can understand why they're $100 cheaper than you. That might be the case. You know what? I think we will go through with you guys just to make sure that doesn't fall back on us. And I've heard horror stories where people have called companies back and said, man, we went through somebody and this happened, you know, and it's like, that's a real risk.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing too. When you show up to a customer's house and they do say no, don't just walk away. I always communicate with the customer, talk to them for a little bit longer, and you'll be surprised how many times a no turned into a yes by just sitting there talking to the customer for about another extra minute and letting them know we're heading out. And they say, hey, you know what? I like you guys. Let's just get it done right now. So many damn times.
A lot.
And I've actually gotten reviews off people that I went to their house and gave them an estimate, but they couldn't afford the price. And they actually left me a review because of our customer service was on point. So one thing you want to do if you show up, always treat people like they're your grandma or your grandparents and just treat them right and communicate. Like one thing we always do is we show up, call them by their first name, compliment someone about how beautiful their house is or how beautiful their dog is, even though it's ugly as hell with some crooked teeth. You know what I mean? You gotta sell yourself. The better you sell yourself, the more jobs you get. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a part of, again, when we're talking about the Facebook messaging, building rapport.
Yeah.
Right. Building trust with somebody, having a conversation. I've seen conversations, and this is another area I've seen empathize, guys, with some stuff. You know, I've seen conversations where somebody's like, yeah, my mother passed away and we're dealing with this. And somebody's like, oh, well, that'll be $2,500.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. Because and I have I'm lucky enough to have 15 years of customer service experience. You know, before I even built this, I've been in customer service pretty much since I was 17. So like for me, it's like, no, you want to empathize with that person. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I can't imagine what you're going through right now. I know this is a hard time. Look, we've dealt with this before. Here's how this works, and we're going to make this as smooth of a transition as possible for you. Right? That is so much different than just giving a price. And I know you're busy, and I know you get caught up in the day-to-day, but I love that when you say treat it like your grandmother, treat it like somebody that you care about, because if you're willing to do that in any form of business, it will come back to you. If you genuinely care about that person, because junk removal is a lot more than just picking up some mattresses and some couches. There's a real relief for a lot of people when they get junk removed, right? When you do a clean out, a garage clean out, when you take some items away, like there's a sense of relief. You are offering a service that is valuable to them. Believe in that and display that when you're talking about it, when you're selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, karma is real. It's crazy. A couple of days ago, I had some guy buying something off me off of Facebook Marketplace. It was like a vacuum cleaner, commercial vacuum cleaner thing, like a pressure washer vacuum cleaner thing.
Yes.
And he was super cool kid. He was working at some old timers home. He wanted to barbecue some food for like the elderly people there. And he was looking at it. He really wanted to get it. I said, you know what? You can just have it. Don't even worry. He's all, really? I can just have it? I said,
He was
yeah.
so excited.
I said, no problem. Just take it. You're a good kid. You know what I mean? He took it. He took off and stuff. And then the next day, I showed to a job, and we do this one job for this doctor. And I actually got a trailer from this guy before, right? A free trailer. And I show up there, was it a couple of days ago?
Yeah, and
I got to pick up a wood chipper. He has a wood chipper there that goes for around $3,000. So it's all karma. The way you treat people, it all comes back to you. So it's so important.
I believe in that so much. And, I think if you have the right moral code and you care about people, I tell people all the time, like, look, marketing is a hard space, guys. You guys see it. There's a lot of different things that happen. There's marketers that come and go.
Oh, yeah. I see it all the time.
And you have to understand that when you talk to somebody, when you talk to them about marketing, and when they come in, you want to set the right expectations. You don't want to give them BS. You don't want to guarantee them. So many people are trying to sell and they're guaranteeing this and this and that. Like, there's no guarantees in marketing. All right. Because marketing is connected to sales. And if I haven't worked with you, I don't know what your sales process is. I don't know how good it is. I need to learn that. Right. And I need to help you with that if that's an area of opportunity. So being able to go through and say, look, I have experience and this is what I expect to happen. And this is what I'm going to be looking for. And this is how it's going to work out. Does that work for you? And also being able to just give somebody some tips and being like, I've had so many times somebody gets on call with me and they're like, we're at this point in our business. And I'm like, look, I want you to do this, this, and this. You're not ready for this, and that's okay. But maybe next year, maybe in 6 months, you will be, and we'll talk again. And whether they come back or not is irrelevant. It's just a matter of, I feel good about, hey, I was able to help that person, because business is freaking hard, and growing a business is hard, and it's lonely, and you're trying to figure it all out yourself. So to have somebody to be able to give you some time out of their day to say, hey, I know these things. If you do these, will be helpful for you. If they take it and it makes them some money, great. I didn't lose anything out of that. So I don't mind giving that, whether they work with me or not. If they work with me, that's just a bonus at that point.
Right on, right on. Yeah, we do a little bit of coaching here and there. We put a pause on it because of the Junk Expo. But me and the JoJo, we're real picky on who we choose to teach, because it's a hard thing. I can only imagine it's like marketing. Only certain people are going to really take the information and be able to do something with it. And like for you, you can get people the leads, but they got to try to sell themselves, get on the spot, answer back to people super fast. So you can be a person getting the leads, but if you ain't closing the deal or talking to people the right way, it's going to make it difficult to make that money. So it's really up to how good you can hustle, how good you can interact with customers. There's a whole lot that goes into it. So I can only imagine how tough it is with people like, oh, I can't close a deal. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's got to be a tough one.
Yeah, it is. And we're the same way. We try and be selective on who we take. And it's not perfect, right? Sometimes things slip through and you're like, oh man, I didn't know this or that. But then you go into kind of that coaching consulting mode where it's like, hey, I do have customer service experience, and I'm not telling you how to do what you do, but when you're doing this, you may have to do it a little differently. And this is coming from the many years of experience and the millions of conversations that I've seen firsthand and the phone calls I've listened to. That's leverage that I'm going to try and pass on to you. And if you're willing to take it, I think that'll take you to the next level. And it's just being, forthright with that information. And I think that's why, we've been able to, one, be around as long as we have, but two, have the reputation we have, because we're never going to be perfect, but we care. And I think people can tell that. That's really hard to fake over time. And my team also cares. I'm very specific on who's my team. And, they do the same thing. They give value, right? Without anything in return. And we're okay with that. And when somebody is with us, we're like, all right, you got some value before you work with us. We're going to try and give you immense value now because you're with us.
Right on. I love it. Love it.
It's good.
That's cool that you try to just show them the way. Hey, you can do this. This is way better to get more sales. This is the way you want to talk to people. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's needed. It's needed in this business. It's really helpful. When you pay for marketing, it's a leap. It's a leap of faith, number one, right? You got to trust that company. You got to trust that they're doing the right things and they're actually working with you. So I think a more hands-on approach, where you're able to speak with somebody, you're able to get the reports, you're able to get someone who is communicating with you, whether it be myself, whether it be my partner Chase, our CSM, like you always have that resource, and we want that there because you might have something that's either related to us or not related to us that we have experience in, that we can then be like, hey, I have seen this before. This is probably what's happening. This should fix it, right? And you're trying to, I'll never jump into consulting, but like I try and add an element of consulting because of just the experience levels of being in the industry and being helpful.
Right on, right on. Is the food okay in the oven?
Oh, I should definitely check on it because we've been on here longer than I had expected.
Just want to make sure. Well, you guys got a sneak peek of what's going down at the JUNK EXPO. This is one of our guest speakers. He's going to bring the heat. And for sure, I'm going to get you back on the channel again. I mean, I learned a lot already, so I'm going to pick your brain, just so you know.
Yeah,
come out here to California, I'm going to pick your brain.
Hey, I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I love talking about this. I hope that shows when people are hearing it from me, man. I love talking about business. I love talking about marketing. I love talking about sales, customer service, all this, and all of it ties in. So I can't wait. I'm super excited for the opportunity, and thankful. So I really appreciate you putting me on this platform, and I'm going to bring it, man. I can't wait.
Right on, right on. Now, for anyone out there that's just brand new and wants to run Facebook ads or run a boost, what's the best advice you can give them?
Best advice I can give you is be willing to test and get data and not make rash decisions. Marketing has a short-term and a long-term value. And when you make rash decisions, there's a lot of times I've seen that somebody's kind of digging for the gold. And you ever seen the meme where the gold's right there and he stops digging?
Yeah.
A lot of people usually stop digging right at the gold. So don't make rash decisions. Don't be afraid to fail. I've always said, if I come up to bat, and it's the baseball analogy I use, if I come up to bat 10 times and they hit 3 home runs, I made a lot more money than if I didn't come up to bat at all.
I agree. Right on. So when it comes to testing ads, how many ads would you run to test? Would it be like 3 ads you want to test, maybe like $10 to $20 each ad per day? Like what's a good average?
If you're new and the budget's tight, I would just test 1 to 2 and nothing more. So, and the way that I would test is I would do it and know what the testing is. So if you have one with totally different things than the other, then you might not know what's broken. So an example of that is if I have different ad copy, if I have different videos, if I have different images on 2 different ads, and one's performing, the other one's not, what was it? I don't know. I have too many different layers. So what I like to do, if I'm going to do an A/B test, I like to have similar ad copy, but maybe a different video. Or same video, but different ad copy. So then I know, all right, I see the difference between these, and then there's only one layer that's different. Now, once I know that, okay, I can test other layers and go deeper, right? One by one. Because Facebook ads has a lot of layers, right? Ad copy, CTA, imagery, right? Video, like what exactly is it? Is it your targeting? If you're going deeper on targeting, right? So if you're trying to test it all like one ad and then another one that way, it's gonna be very hard for you to uncover what's what. Obviously for me, it's a little easier because I have so many different things to test, but for you being new, don't over test where you're doing different things. Just do similar ad copy. You're gonna split test 2, but then different video maybe, or same video, different ad copy, and then start to structure from there and pull off of it.
Okay, cool. I've been messing with Facebook ads a little bit. It's a lot of stuff you got to get into to figure stuff out. I mean, they're like this, watching videos on YouTube, on the laptop, trying to figure stuff out. It's like a Facebook boost on steroids. There's so much more shit. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I get why it's confusing and it can be hard, and it's not going to be for everybody. Some people are going to be able to take some information and they're going to go. They might be a little bit more tech savvy. Some others maybe is not. But, you definitely want to, when you're testing, sort of dumb it down as basic as you can, and then get each layer over time. And again, the cool thing about this is if you're testing it on your own, you can do it at a relatively small budget, right? You're not having to kick out thousands upon thousands of dollars, and also be willing to test when you have the budget and the capability as well. Don't jump into something with your last $100, please. That's not what I want you to do. If you're in that position, I want you to do the things that take time and stack up cash to the test for marketing, right? So, boots on the ground, right? knocking on doors and meeting with realtors, meet with property managers, posting on Nextdoor, posting on Facebook groups, posting on your own Facebook page.
Yeah.
All the tedious things. I want you doing all those things, get some jobs off of that, and then use some of that money to start testing on some marketing. I always say, if I got $1,000, I'm not going to bet it all on black. So, set yourself up for success, stack it up, and then give yourself the amount of wiggle room you need to test.
Right on, right on. Well, I think that's the show for tonight, right,
No,
JoJo?
it was great. There was so much great information. It was a really good live.
So I want to talk to you for like 2 minutes before we get off of here, or when we get off here. I got a couple questions for you about Facebook ads offline. All right, so if you guys like this video, make sure you guys smash that like button. Where can they find you at, Blake?
Yeah, Facebook is a good one, right? Blake Short. It's a picture of me and my dog. I'm pretty easy to find. TopDogDigitalSolutions.com. You can find us on our website. And you can also find us on YouTube. We have Top Dog Marketing Tips. I'm on there, and I give all kinds of value and free tips there. So feel free to steal as much as you'd like.
Oh, awesome.
Right on, right on. You want to say anything else about the expo, JoJo?
No, just, go to junk-expo.com and get some more information, because if you do junk removal, you need to be at the Junk Expo, October 24th and the 25th.
Yeah, don't be a hoe. Come to the Junk Expo. With that being said, I'm out of here. All right.
I can't believe you said that.
Good.